All right, welcome back to talkSPORT Endzone, your very own dedicated NFL YouTube channel from talkSPORT. And it's the game of the year this weekend. We talked about it on the rundown earlier this week. I think when the schedule first came out, a lot of us circled this game. And as it's got closer and closer, that ink has got redder and been circled harder because Bills Chiefs this Sunday promises to be an absolute barnstormer. And I'm delighted to say that joining the show now, and you might have seen this man across your social medias this past week, because his reaction to the blocked field goal was sensational. It's the brilliant Cole DeRuse, also known as How About Those Chiefs? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome, Will. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I actually just today, I woke up this morning, I just laughed. I was like, I cannot believe they blocked that field goal. I mean, we have to move on to the next week. Obviously, it's over. But the odds of a walk-off blocked field goal like that happening, a 35-yard chip shot, you dig back into the past, and most of the game winning blocked field goals for the other team, that's happened from like the 50 or the 60, like a 50 or 60 yarder when you have to really drive that ball low and they can get their hands up on it. But a 35-yard chip shot when they're going up, that's like never happened. So I was just beside myself, and I'm honored to be on here. And there's a big opponent this Sunday in the Buffalo Bills. Always a fun matchup.
What I really love is it was the begrudging respect that came on Monday, because Sunday the reaction is from all of those of us out there that are like, God damn it, how did the Chiefs manage to get to 9-0? How do they keep winning these games? And like, you look back over the season and, you know, there's the Raiders getting the ball inside the red zone with that turnover and getting no points. There's the Falcons having two fourth downs turned over in the red zone against you. There's the 49ers picking Mahomes off 3 times and then just crumbling on offense themselves. And like week in, week out, this team just find a way to win. But it was that thing on Monday of like realizing that this wasn't just some amazing fluke play. This was a scouted thing. This was a targeted player. This was something they did on every kick in the game, and it came off eventually. And I guess that's what terrifies us all about the Chiefs, is that brain trust just means that they always are going to find a way, it feels like.
Yeah, it's such an interesting time to be a Chiefs fan too, because I was born and raised in Kansas City, and I still live in the Kansas City area. So I grew up watching the Chiefs lose a lot of games, especially in the playoffs. And then when Mahomes kind of takes over for Alex Smith after all that happened, I remember watching the league like rally behind Chiefs fans. They were like, yeah, we want to see the Chiefs win something. And now it's so different just a handful of years later. Everybody is hate watching. They're like, I cannot wait for the Broncos to make this field goal, or the Bucs to win in overtime, or the Falcons to convert on 4th down. Any scenario you want to insert from the season, they are watching to see the Chiefs lose. And it's kind of fun. We're having fun embracing the villain era. I mean, I think Mahomes is a pretty likable guy, but I understand a lot of people hate watching him win. And yeah, it's been wild. This team knows how to win. One of the best teams in the NFL, just from, it's not just a roster standpoint, because sometimes you're playing teams that have a better roster, but from a coaching standpoint, best defensive coordinator in the game, Andy Reid, top coach in the game, one of the top offensive play callers, and then all the continuity they have just from the top of the ownership all the way to the bottom of the practice squad guys. Like, it's been an amazing thing to watch, especially since Mahomes took over.
It's so funny. It's the Batman quote, right? It's either you die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, because it does feel like, I remember when the Patriots in 2002 had that incredible run, and it was like, wow, this amazing underdog team with a 6th round pick suddenly going and winning a Super Bowl. And everyone loved them. And it took 3 years for everyone to absolutely despise them. So I don't know. I find that because of Mahomes and probably Andy Reid, you guys have a little bit of likability left, but I do get it. I having lived in this side of the world, in the world of Man United and now Man City, and having lived through that Patriots, I get why people get a little bit frustrated with it. I guess from your perspective,
for sure,
how do you ride that 9-0 in your mind? How are you pairing that together when you see something like a blocked field goal that just keeps this phenomenal run going?
Yeah, it's pretty wild because it's more than 9-0. It's 15 wins in a row, which is pretty wild. Obviously, coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl wins too. So, when I predicted the Chiefs' record, like you look at the schedule release and then heading up into the season, I thought the Chiefs by this point might have lost a couple, and then by the season's end maybe 13-4, 14-3. Obviously, they could. I don't know that they go undefeated, but they could finish with 1 or 2 losses. There's a real legitimate possibility. But yeah, each and every week, it's pretty wild to see. And all we can do is take it 1 week at a time, right? And I see a legitimate path of how the Chiefs can win all these games. And it often comes down to one less turnover or one play made here on third down or in the red zone. And I think that's going to be a thing to watch against the Buffalo Bills. That's always a fun matchup when we go against, I say we like I'm on the team, but when the Chiefs go against Josh Allen and company, a lot of one-score games. The Bills often get the best of the Chiefs in the regular season. It flip-flops typically in the playoffs. But yeah, every win that the Chiefs have, I'm bracing for what could be a loss just because they're always so close. And again, comes down to that one play. It just seems like more times than not, the Chiefs are able to make it and to take advantage of it.
What is your reaction when Sunday evening finishes and it comes out and you see that your underdog's going to Buffalo?
I just saw the spread. It was like 2.5, 1.5 point underdogs. So basically anything within 3.5 is like they're basically saying we don't know. And I think with the Bills just being at home, like they have home field advantage, and they're great. They're a good team. They have their own injury issues right now that they're working through, even for this Sunday's game. But I wasn't surprised, and that doesn't really bother me. I mean, look at Mahomes' record against the spread as an underdog. I think it's like 12-1-1 or something insane. Yeah, it didn't bother me. It didn't really surprise me either because, yeah, the Buffalo Bills, great team. I mean, they're in most statistical categories, top 5, like they're top 3 scoring offense. They're a top 10 scoring defense. I mean, they're just a great team overall, and you can never count Josh Allen and company out.
Are you at a point where it almost feels like with the way you've ridden this wave that actually a loss this weekend, as long as it's not, a crumbling defeat, an absolute blowout or anything, but you lose a tight game on the road to a good opponent, you're not really sweating it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. When I looked at the schedule and predicted the Chiefs to lose 3 or 4 games, I circled this one, the Ravens, the Texans as like, hey, I could easily see these going either way. And I've seen some people talking like, hey, a loss for the Chiefs right now might be a good thing. You get the young guys tasting the just the bitterness of a loss before you get into the playoffs. And I think if a loss happens, I think a loss will happen before the end of the season, hopefully not Sunday, but I mean, again, it could go either way. I think that'll benefit the young guys the most. And why I say the young guys specifically is because the vets on the team, they've experienced back-to-back Super Bowl wins. And Patrick Mahomes literally said nothing was greater than feeling the win for the Lombardi in front of, on the brightest lights in the biggest moment. And once you win, all you do is crave and thirst more Super Bowl rings, more Super Bowl trophies. So those guys are motivated. But for the young guys, that might actually benefit them tasting that loss before you get into the playoffs.
Do you have any concerns with, particularly looking at the offensive side of the ball? Statistically, Mahomes having probably his weakest season of this run. Travis Kelce starting to show his age. Xavier Worthy, outside of that phenomenal Week 1 performance, hasn't looked like a first round pick in the way that we expect first round picks to look nowadays, right? Everyone expects them to hit the ground running like they're already an all pro, right? But with the injuries and with like the fact that you're relying on defense, the fact that you're relying on special teams, is there any concern for you at that point?
You talking for this game specifically
this game,
against Buffalo?
The rest of the season, the idea of the three-peat. Sure. Because for you, right? Yeah. This is what we're saying. You can lose this weekend, and that's not the end of the world. What you guys care about is getting to New Orleans, getting through that 60 minutes, and being the first team to ever do 3 in a row, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest story of the Kansas City Chiefs right now is just typically when they're in these deep playoff runs, they are healthy. Like they're a pretty healthy team. And I feel like that's been an underrated thing behind their success. I've talked about it in previous videos and previous seasons. You're going into the wild card, divisional, AFC championship, and you have like 95% of your starters still playing. But the story of the Chiefs this year is they have lost, specifically on offense, a lot of playmakers. Isaiah Pacheco, he's coming back soon. But Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. I mean, the list kind of goes on. They lost Juju for a little bit, but they are starting to get healthier. And I think that's also why the offense, it just looks very weird. And it almost looks like they're evolving each and every week. And I think it's just for at least the first half of the season was they just had so many injuries. They kind of just had to adapt on the fly. And you're going and getting Juju Smith-Schuster. He wasn't on the roster. He was with the Patriots to start the season. You're then going and getting Kareem Hunt, who was on the couch, former Chief, played with the Browns for quite a while. And you're just evolving and adapting. So the biggest concerns for me right now is just, can we please stay healthy? There is a little bit of a concern at the left tackle spot, and that also revolves around health. Like, I need left tackle Wanye Morris to please stay healthy, because Kingsley Suamataia, the rookie second-round pick, has just struggled so far. I think he is an interesting prospect and can grow and learn, but I'm not sure he's ready this season. So left tackle is a little bit of a concern. But on the flip side, for the Bills game, you're getting Juju Smith-Schuster, Chiefs, one of their top targets behind Kelsey and DeAndre Hopkins. He should be playing in this game. And that's where I have a little bit of confidence there. You've got to worry about Kelsey in the middle of the field. You've got to worry about D-Hop. Juju will be behind them. Yeah, Worthy hasn't had the rapport that we had hoped for. But Mahomes has kind of missed on that a few times. Sometimes it's been on Worthy reading the coverage wrong as the snap happens. Mahomes expects something else. My concern level is not, here's my thing. Until they lose, I mean, they just keep finding the weirdest ways to win these games. I am just ultimately not that concerned, because you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Andy Reid, you've got Travis Kelce, and if anybody can figure out how to do it in the toughest moments, third, fourth down, goal line, overtime, like, it's going to be them more times than not, and history has proven that, as they are the most winningest team since 2018.
Is there anyone out there who does put the fear in you, who you think, if we face them in the playoffs, I mean, the likelihood is with your record, it's going to be at Arrowhead, right? So, but if we have to face off with, whether it's the Bills, the Ravens, whoever it might be, the Chargers looking great right now, I know it's a divisional rival, or even if it's going all the way to the Super Bowl, is there a team, the Lions, that somebody that actually like puts the real fear in you and says, I think that team's actually better than us right now, despite the record?
Yeah, I definitely have like a healthy respect, and I know a lot. I think a lot of people think Chiefs fans are just pompous, cocky, blah, blah, blah. I will troll around online and have fun with that. But at the end of the day, this is the NFL. It's the best of the best that you're going up against. You could lose any given Sunday. The parity in this league is absolutely insane. So I definitely have a healthy respect for the top contenders, for sure. I mean, the Ravens, I'm a little intrigued to see how their passing defense holds up, because they're giving up over 300 yards a game, which come playoff time, if Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry aren't scoring 30 plus points, I mean, you're probably losing if you're the Ravens. So that's a little bit concerning. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen and the Bills, like, that's going to be a great matchup on Sunday. I think they are going to be definite contenders in the AFC, or in the NFC rather. I mean, the Lions look really good. The 49ers are always a tough fight, even though they're kind of climbing. The Vikings, I don't know what that's going to be like.
There's no team whose number you have more than the 49ers. And I say that as a man with some 49ers gear behind me. Like, there is no team that who it doesn't matter what happens, they can't mentally get out of their own way against the Chiefs. I think if that's who you ended up facing off with in the Super Bowl, I would be getting sized for another ring if I'm Pat Mahomes, if I'm quite frank with you.
I think everybody would be rather upset if it was Chiefs and Niners again. Mm-hmm. You want something different. I would think a lot of the world, since we're across the pond talking, I think a lot of the world would maybe want, I think the Lions are intriguing. They've never been. So I think if the Lions make it, everyone's going to want to see them win. You know, just like in Super Bowl 54, a lot of the world was hoping to see the Kansas City Chiefs win. It was a 50-year drought. Mahomes was doing his thing, and it's totally flip-flopped. But yeah, Lions would be intriguing. I think they are a great team. Love Dan Campbell. Jared Goff's firing a lot of weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery. I mean, the list goes on. Laporta, I think he's dealing with an injury, but yeah, a lot of good teams. Several of them I didn't even mention in the NFC. The Eagles are on fire right now. I mean, there's a lot of potential teams that the Chiefs could be playing against. I don't know if I truly like fear anybody, but I have a healthy respect for anybody that's going to make it, because they're there for a reason. And yeah, it's always going to be a tough fight.
And look, if anyone thinks that you are in any way a pompous Chiefs fan, I think they just have to go and watch the field goal reaction, because it was sensational, but it was also the reaction of a man that knew that they'd got away with one a little bit, right? You were just like I think that's what's been great about it, is that Chiefs fans themselves couldn't believe it. You're not going, it's not that thing of going, yeah, that's how we do. It's that thing of going, oh, and breathe, right? Oh, how did we get away with it? It was, it was so good.
I had the loss ready. I mean, like, I was mentally prepared for the loss. I was saying, hey, this is an automatic chip shot basically for Will Lutz. If this is up and it's a solid hold, like, it's probably good, and the Chiefs will walk away with their first L, which stings against the Broncos. It's a division rival, but they have a good thing going with Sean Payton. Bo Nix is working his way up, and then the Broncos are going to be an interesting team, like even a problem in the future. You build around Bo Nix on his rookie contract; they'll be able to make a bunch of moves. The AFC West is going to be tough. So just falling to a team that I thought we were going to lose, right? Mahomes before that game was 12-1 against the Broncos. And I was like, dang, a second loss. I'm like, no. But yeah, it was crazy. I did freak out. And I think my biggest freak out after they finally made it was, what are they going to blame the refs on this time? And they actually found things to blame the refs on for sure. It was some play in particular in the second quarter, but that was my whole thing. I was like, they paid the refs to block that field goal, huh? But they found something else, which, hey, it is what it is.
Cole, it's been really good fun. Thank you so much. Where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, just How About Those Chiefs, or HBTC on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you go. A lot of short form content. I stream during the games, do a live play-by-play reaction, and then just make content following my the team that I grew up watching and rooting for. It's been a lot of fun.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Really enjoyed it. And then hopefully, you know, come playoff times, come later, we'll have another conversation, and maybe it will still be with an Anno at the end of your name.
Hey, come on now. That's the hope.